Hi, good morning, and welcome to What's the Word? So, we're not doing a screen recording, I'm actually doing a video. I don't know if you know the difference or care to know the difference. But today we're going to do the footnotes. We're going to get into what we have read. But I think it's important as I was reading, the whole purpose of reading was this Bible, right? It was the New Living Translation, NLT, was these. The blue. I want to read all the blue, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to spend time reading Genesis, what it's about, and then all the blue footnotes. So, this is Genesis. In the beginning, the word Genesis means origins. This book shows us about the origins of the world, especially the human race. This is why I just think it's very important, very much so, to know the details, because this is why I fell in love with this book, is because I want to get deeper. I want to go deeper, right? It's not just, I'm getting tired of the surface. And excuse my dressing. I know it's whatever, but I'm painting today, hopefully. But yeah, I'm getting tired of the surface. I want to go deeper, and God provided me with it, and I want to, help you. And I think it's very, very important to know the book and the origins. Genesis' origins. So the book shows us about the origins of the world, especially the human race, especially with humans are just so mean and evil. And the origins of God's people, Israel. There's a symbolic something about that. Genesis tells us of God's creation of all things. Human beings were at the high point of his creation. But their disobedience led to their expulsion. Anybody got expelled? I've never been expelled, but expulsion, not only from the Garden of Eden, but also from the intimate friendship with God. This sin of disobedience spread rapidly as the human race developed. But from the beginning, we see that God had a plan to put things right again. Just like he had a plan for Jesus to come and save us from our sin, he has a plan for our lives. And even though life is life, it hurts very much. God is God. And with God, all things are possible. Hey, cat scratching at my wall. So, what is it all about? Chapters 1 through 11 describe the earliest history of the world and its beginnings. They show us that the world, as originally made by God, was good. That the human race has a special place in the world. Very important. With both male and female being made in God's image to be like him and to be called into a relationship with him. I was reading this Joyce Meyer's book that I got for Christmas, and I think this is part of that. Male and female being in God's image to be like him and to be called into the relationship with him. So not only are we called to be in a relationship with each other, we can't have good relationships without communication, right? So relationships with each other, relationships with God, relationships, even though God knows us and our hearts beforehand and knows our needs, and he still wants us to bring it to him. Just like, I don't know, I do that with my child sometimes. Like, what is it that you want? I know what he wants, but I want him to ask me properly, right? You got to ask, use your words. There's power in the words, and God is something with an O. I forgot what the omni something, that he can see and feel and be everywhere all at once, but the devil is not. The devil doesn't know your thoughts and your hearts and judges that, The devil uses and puts things in your head and yeah, uses life experiences and makes it bad. But God is always good. Always, 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 always. So with both male and female being made, I wish I knew where my thing is. Being made in God's image to be like him and to be called into a relationship with him. And that humanity has a responsibility to look after God's world. Are we looking after God's world? I tell my children this, like, my 14-year-old doesn't really care. But my 11-year-old, I mean, my 8-year-old, oh my God, my 8-year-old, like, are we looking after the world? If we, I hate to even use this, but, like, we drive 15 minutes, through a country to bring a friend to work every day. And I see deer and animals scattered all over the road. Like, it's disgusting. Roadkill, you know, it's gross. Is that taking care of the world? Like, I don't think God intended it to be this way. Like, I don't think. The houses aren't supposed to be this big, even though I love my house. And God provided it for me. I just, you know, are we taking care of the world? Are we really, really, like, really taking care of the world? Are we holding up to the responsibility that God gave us to care for each other and, you know, the creation that he gave us? Because the first human beings disobeyed God. Refusing to trust and obey him, the world in which we live in is now fallen. It is. Brokenness in relationships, illness, suffering, trouble, and even death itself are the results of human sin. God responds to sin with judgment. But he also brings salvation, as we see in the story of the flood. The remainder of Genesis shows us how God began his plan to mend a broken world, even though human beings don't deserve it. God in his kindness loves the world. And so he made a covenant, a binding agreement involving a special relationship with a man named Abraham. Father Abraham had many men. No, and many sons have Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord. Right foot, left foot. I love it. So through a man named Abraham, in this covenant, he promised to bless not just Abraham and his descendants, but ultimately the whole world. In return, God called for faithful obedience. So chapters 12 to 50, that's where we are. We're in that category. We're 24, I think, 24, 25. Chapters 12 to 50 tell the stories of the ancestors of the people of Israel. Abraham, his son Isaac, that's where we were, Isaac and a wife. Isaac's son Jacob, and Jacob's son, who became the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Kitty cats. Through their descendants, God would work out his plan of salvation. What does that mean for us? Genesis gives us the answers to the big questions of life. This is why, I don't know, when I speak, I was talking to a friend that I've known for over 20 years. Didn't realize that until just the other night. But anyways, I was talking to her. And this is, you know, I love it. I love it. And her daughter too. We had a whole conversation. God is, man, he plants those seeds. So, this is where I would start. This is where I would start in the Bible to preach the Bible. Noah's Ark, the covenant, Abraham and Adam and Eve, Abraham, Isaac, all deceiving Abimelech because their wives were beautiful, and so yeah, it gives the answers, right? Genesis gives us the answers to the big questions of life. What are these questions that everybody has? Who brought everything into being? What is God like? I love that. Like, I love that. Why do things go wrong in the world? I think that's a big one. Everybody's always asking, why is there bad things in the world? Because there's evil, because people think evil, because, there's bad things. What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of life? Genesis shows us about God that he is eternal, powerful, perfect, the creator and the giver of life. He's also personal, and he's made human beings in his image. There that is again. What does that mean? I love it. Beings in his image. To have a close relationship with him. He made men and women as equals, to be different, but to complement each other. And the fact that nobody understands that, right? Say that one more time. Ooh, 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 ooh. He made men and women as equals, to be different, but to complement each other. That's why men don't understand women and women don't understand men, because, we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to. And even though people don't feel like, we were talking about that. She has I told you I have a daughter who has a boyfriend who, or had, I don't know if they still do. I haven't talked to him in a while, but she had a boyfriend who wanted to be a girl, and she's a girl who wanted to be a boy. And I'm just like, okay. And the same thing with my friend that I said I've known. And her daughter said, I have a girlfriend, but this boy wants to be with me. And I think that I don't want to be with the boy because I think I'm cheating on the girl. And well, clearly, God didn't make us that way. He didn't make us to fornicate with the same sex. He made us to complement each other. To complement each other. So I told her, you can date the boy and the girl at the same time. God's going to change her heart, right? Because I'm praying for her and we pray for each other. But you can date them at the same time because God didn't make it that way. It wouldn't be cheating if you have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, because, hello, you're not supposed to be of the same sex. If you have two boyfriends and two girlfriends, then yeah, that would be cheating. But the fact that God made man and women in his image, parts fit, just saying, that is human, if the parts don't fit, or the shoe, right? If the shoe don't fit, it might feel good and be good, but the shoe don't fit. It don't fit. So, there's that. Just saying that it doesn't work that way. That's not how God made it. It might be good, but it's not good. And that's the thing with the devil, is he likes to make God's goodness into something that is not. Like, that's what she was saying, that the Bible contradicts itself. You know why the Bible contradicts itself? Because these are perspectives of people and their lives. And because you're not listening to what God has to tell you. Like, you got to listen to God. You have to, there's a lot that you got to do, but it's mostly like Jesus. Live as Jesus. Like I said with my son's verse, like, if people claim to follow Jesus, you have to also walk as Jesus did. You can't just, let's preach the Bible and not know how Jesus lived. You could talk the talk all you want, but can you actually walk the walk? Like, can you, Can you walk the walk? Like, can you actually, I know for me, it's hard. It's very, it's hard because I'm human and God gives grace. I barely, I've been hearing that a lot with my situation. Give grace to yourself. Like, what is that? What does that mean? How do you do that? Grace and God and he made men and women as equals to be different but to complement each other. I think that is the main thing in here. So God gave the first human beings the principles of work and rest, right? So the way that we are working is not the way that we're supposed to be working. Like I said, everything is not as it's supposed to be. And the basic social unit of marriage. The union of one man and one woman in a lifelong relationship. It doesn't say in the marriage that you had to go in front of a church and you had to, say vows and you had to dress up pretty and you had to have bridesmaids and this and this and this. No. It says it right here. God gave the first human beings the principles of work and rest and the basic social unit of marriage. Right? They didn't have that was another thing, because she said her cousin, I think she's her cousin. But anyways, she got kicked out of a Christian church, a Christian church for having a child out of wedlock. And to me, yeah, you can't have a child out of wedlock. You can't. God made the act of sex a covenant. A covenant. Abraham took Adam took Eve as his wife and they begat Seth. Right? Adam took Eve as his wife. I did not think of that like, I got 6 kids, 6 baby daddies. That means I got 6 husbands. Yeah, and more. Every person that you intercourse with, intercourse is a marriage commitment. And if you're not ready for that marriage commitment, you're not ready for intercourse. It's just, like I said, the parts were made for a reason. There is a purpose for the fitting parts. Just, is a purpose. So, yeah. It doesn't say it's the union of a man and a woman in a lifelong relationship, says chapter 2 verse 24, and that is right here. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Right? So it doesn't say that they had to go in front of a church and they had to do this and that and the other thing. It says that why a man leaves his mother and father and is joined to the woman as one. That's what a marriage is. The rebellion of Adam and Eve led to God's judgment, which includes death and suffering. Yet, even in the midst of judgment, we see God's kindness and his patience with people. That's what I mean. Like, I ain't got that kind of patience, man. I ain't got patience. I beg God for patience. And sometimes I say I don't, but I do. God gives that patience to you when it's needed. He will give that to you. In the midst of judgments, God's kindness with patience. So through God's special relationship with Abraham and his descendants, we see the beginning of God's plan to bring hope and salvation to the world despite the reality of human sin. Says one more time. Through God's special relationship with Abraham and his descendants. I think that's why that song is very important. Father Abraham had many sons. I know it's like a skinny, skinnamarink-a-dink-a-dink? No. I don't know what it is, but loop-de-loop, hands in, hands out, spin around. Yeah, well, Father Abraham is like that. But I think it's important because Father Abraham and many sons have Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord. Do 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 do. We can skip all that part, but I love it. I love it. Like we had many sons, and I am a son, even though I'm a daughter, right? So he had many sons. So we see the beginning of God's plan to bring hope and salvation, not just to the Israelites, not just to the Jews or Gentiles, but to the whole world, despite the reality of human sin. So that is Genesis. Then there's a footnote. Was the world really made in 6 days? Some Christians believe that the world was made in 6 literal 24-hour periods. Others consider that the periods described as days referred to extended periods of time. The real issue is not so much that the length of the periods of time that God took to create everything, but the fact that he did. The fact that he did create everything. This is a God who made everything in an orderly manner, everything to coexist, everything to work together. That's what I was telling my brother too, was like, I don't understand the way that we live, and people are irrelevant to animals, and the fact that they don't have houses. They don't have, a contractor and plumbing and, everything that we have, but we want to take from them. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but those are you following me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we were supposed to coexist with the animals, not take over the planet and like, oh, we don't need no animals other than cats and dogs and stuff that we can have for pets. Like, we're not, it's supposed to combine in an orderly manner, right? He created everything in an orderly manner. It's not chance or luck that controls human life. It is God, a living, personal God, not blind, impersonal fate, has guided all life from the beginning. And then Adam and Eve. Hold on, this is one. Nope, that one doesn't have anything. Adam and Eve, it says we already read that. Chapter 2, verse 24. Does marriage still matter to God? Page 976. What is that? And then C, sin. Oh, it tells you the pages. All right. So 976. 50. I just had it. 73. Ha 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 ha. Well, let's see. It's going to get us into a little bit of a rabbit hole. I'll just read the first. I'll read the first. In days when there's often great diversity in domestic and family arrangements, does marriage still matter? If 2 people of whatever sex love each other, isn't it enough for them just to live together? While not wishing to judge others' lifestyles, Christians are called to follow the Bible's teaching about relationships. The Bible makes clear that God's intention for intimate relationship is for one man to live faithfully with one woman in marriage throughout their lives. The 2 become one. Something both Jesus and Paul reaffirmed in Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 and 6, and Ephesians 5:3-1. Says it right there. It doesn't say you have to go get pretty and this and you vows and whatever. It says you live faithfully with one another. Ooh, one man right here. The Bible makes it clear that the intention for intimate relationships is for one man to live faithfully with one woman in marriage throughout their lives. Whew. And something Hosea was determined to live out. When Jewish leaders looked to find ways around this, Jesus made the challenge of marriage even more demanding, such as his high esteem of it in Matthew chapter 19, verses 1 through 2. So listen. All right, so I said I was going to just read the beginning, but I want to read the whole thing. We'll read the verses another day, but I just want to read, does marriage still matter? Because this is what I was saying. Hello, I want to read it because, yeah, it matters. Of course it matters. Oh, my God. So, of course, Adam and Eve didn't have a wedding ceremony. And throughout the biblical period, the actual way of getting married seems to have varied. See what I mean? Seems to have varied. But Adam and Eve were married, right? But at the heart of a marriage always lays the concept of covenant, a binding commitment to relationship. So a covenant, a binding relationship. This is the word that the Bible uses of God's relationship with his people. One he has no intention of breaking, and in which he gives himself fully and permanently. Like I said, that's what I just said, right? Because communication, you have to have a communication to have a relationship with God. You have to have a communication to have a good relationship. Any relationship, you have to have good communication. So God put himself in the center of our relationships and marriage, right? Covenant, one with no intention of breaking. And this is what he calls a man and woman to in marriage. A lifelong binding, committing relationship declared in public with both parties resolved to make it work no matter what happens. Any relationship without such a covenant at its heart is therefore a pale reflection of what God intends for marriage. And we can't expect his blessing on it. That's the problem that I have. Like I said, my husband, I was married. We are married. I had that covenant with him. He didn't have that covenant with me, and God sees things, and I didn't know. God knows your heart's thoughts and attitudes, and there's that. So you can't expect his blessing on it because it wasn't biblical. It's not biblical. The Bible's high value of marriage is reflected in the New Testament, describing the church as the bride of Christ, right? A powerful image of the union between Jesus and his church, and a model for every married couple. So it says that you're supposed to do it publicly, right? And this is called man, woman, a lifelong binding, committed relationship declared in public with both parties resolved to make it work, no matter what happens. And, if that's not marriage, you could put your own spin on what it says here as far as declared in public, that part, because I declared it in public. And he was proud that I did, actually. So there's that. But it's a lifelong binding, committed relationship, and he was not committed. He was committed, but it wasn't to me. It wasn't to just me. He wanted to be a good friend. And yeah. The Bible's high value of marriage is reflected. I already read all that. So the church as the bride of Christ, which is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 2, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 through 32. And again in Revelations, a couple times actually in Revelations, it looks like. Chapter 19, verse 7, chapter 21, verse 2 and 9. A powerful image of the union between Jesus and his church and a model for every married couple. And it says, see also, can a Christian marry a non-Christian? Page 1329. So when we get to Hosea, because this was Hosea in the highest, oh, I love it. In my book does marriage still matter to God? And of course, obviously it does. Marriage is a covenant. Marriage is, hello, Adam and Eve. That's why wouldn't it matter if that was the whole purpose of what he created? Oh my goodness. Trying to use my screw box. It's a box of screws for the thing, but anyways. Yeah. So does marriage really matter? And then sin will be 387. We're not going to do that yet. Adam and Eve. Chapter 2 zooms in on the climax of creation, portrayed in chapter 1. The creation of human beings. The Hebrew word Adam is used in the chapter of both humanity in general and the man, i.e. Adam. It's as if it's telling us that the story of Adam is not just the story of an individual, but also the whole human race. Adam alone couldn't fully reflect what God was like. For that, he needed a helper. A helper. And Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. Together, man and woman, only later called Eve, chapter 3, verse 20, were created to reflect God, know God, and care for his world. Again, care for his world, not our world. He gave it to us, like, to take care of. Sadly, disobedient would rob both of them and all humanity of experiencing all this in its fullness, until Christ, the last Adam, came to restore it in Romans chapter 5, verses 12 through 21, and also 1 Corinthians 15, 45 through 49. This is see also the fall of humanity, page 7, and that is where we are here. The fall of humanity, oh boy. Adam and Eve's disobedience and their subsequent expulsion from the Garden of Eden is known as the fall. So called because they fell from their place of security and intimate friendship with God. They fell into a life of uncertainty, hard labor, disharmony, and the threat of the world into which they were sent. But this didn't just affect them. It affected every human descending from them in Romans chapter 5, verse 12. Even by Genesis 4, we see what a mixed bag humanity has now become. On the one hand, still wonderfully creative, chapter 4, verses 21 through 22, yet on the other hand, capable of great wickedness, chapter 4, verses 1 through 16. This condition has been passed on through the human race. In Romans chapter 1, verses 18 through 32, affecting even creation itself in Romans chapter 8, verses 20 through 21. But God has not abandoned us. He even provided a note of hope to Adam and Eve by promising that one day a descendant of theirs would come and crush the head of a serpent, the devil, even at the cost to himself. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. And it's right here. And I will cause hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. And the word strike has a hyphen, so that would be or bruise, also in 3:15b. Okay. Even at the cost of himself. This has often been seen as the first proclamation of what Jesus would do one day. See Revelations 12:9. And then it says, go back to see Adam and Eve, which we already did. Cain and Abel. Chapter 4 reveals how quickly sin spread, offering even close family. Hold on. Say it again. Chapter 4 reveals how quickly sin spread, affecting even close family relationships. Cain, a farmer and Eve's firstborn, allowed his anger and bitterness with his brother Abel, a shepherd, to boil over. And Cain killed Abel when God accepted Abel's offering, but not Cain's. This may have been because of what was offered. Abel offered the best portion of the firstborn lambs, while Cain simply offered ordinary farm products. Genesis chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. Or it may have been because of Cain's heart and attitude and unawareness of sin. Chapter 4, verse 7. But not only did Cain kill Abel, he cold-heartedly denied any knowledge of it, leading to him be cursed and banished, driven even further away from God's presence. So he lied. He killed his brother and then lied that he didn't know anything about it. Sound familiar? Got children? Teenagers? Yeah. But leading to him being cursed and banished, driven even further away from God's presence. The flood and the ark, and I think that will be it for the day. I don't know where we are. Ooh, we got lots. Oh yeah, we were at that one. Isaac and Rebecca. I think this is where we are, right here. So we're gonna do I just seen a good one. We'll stop here. I don't know how many we've done. We did Genesis 1, 2, 3, 4. Make this 5. Okay. The flood and the ark. Human sin became so deep and widespread that God decided to start all over again. Sending a flood to destroy everyone and everything. In Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 7. He told Noah to build an ark, not so much as a boat as a huge 3-decked floating box, and to gather his family and pairs of animals there. Chapter 6, verses 11 through 22. For 40 days, torrential rains fell and underground waters erupted, flooding the earth, perhaps the result of the ice age ending. Noah and his family stayed in the ark for over a year before the waters dried up completely. Can you imagine 40 days of rain causing you to float on the water for over a year? That's a lot of water. A lot, considering how tall mountains are. I'm in hills and valleys, and my husband's like, these are not mountains. Mountains are way bigger. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of water. Before the waters dried up completely, with wickedness removed, it was time for a new beginning, marked by a covenant between God and Noah. My favorite. It was time for, I said it right, with Noah, the sign of which was the rainbow. This is what the rainbow means. And I'm pretty sure I read this before because, I don't like how people are representing the rainbow. It is not one love like that. No, absolutely not. That's what I mean. I'm changing everything about God, and this is not what it's supposed to be. The rainbow is beautiful. God promises that he would never flood earth again. Chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. Some people struggle with this story because the flooding of the whole world would seem impossible. But the Genesis story does not require belief in a global flood. In fact, Genesis 11, verse 9 says that it was only after the Tower of Babel that God scattered people across the whole earth. Therefore, it is perhaps more likely that this was a vast regional flood that destroyed the emerging human population, though from the perspective of Middle Eastern writers, that would have been the whole earth as they understood the term at that time. It says, see also page Noah on page 12, and that's where we're at now. So we'll come back soon and get to Noah and the Tower of Babel, Abraham, Lot, the covenant, Ishmael, Canaan, Sodom and Gomorrah, childlessness. I believe that is our last where we're at. Oh, nope, Sarah. And then Isaac and Rebecca, and then we'll go back to reading our chapters. So we are Isaac deceives Abimelech, the death of Abraham, and then cheating. Jacob steals Esau's blessing. I believe this is where we're at in these couple chapters. So we're almost halfway through. Yay! Very excited. Thank you for spending time with me. I don't know if I'm going to get any more done today because, as you see, I said I'm dressed for painting and I want to paint and I want to worship and I want to jam out and relax and get some work done. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for spending time with me, and just know that I'm here. I'm here for you. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, I don't know. Message me if you need any encouragement, Bible verses, and I love you. God is great, and peace, love, chicken grease. Mwah.